What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Top Dogs podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Doster, and I guess we probably have to talk about what just happened out in Maui. UConn lost to Memphis 99-97 in overtime in a game where there was a lot of stuff that we probably are going to have to talk about. UConn made an incredible comeback. They were down by 13 with 3:34 left. They were down 79-67 with under 3 minutes left on the clock. They forced overtime. Incredible surge, incredible run, incredible shot by Solo Ball to force the extra period. Go into overtime and end up taking a 4-point lead in the extra period, despite the fact that Terrace Reed had fouled out earlier in the game, despite the fact that they had dealt with foul trouble for most of the night, despite the fact they spent about the first 36 minutes of this game completely unable to stop Memphis guards from getting wherever they wanted to go. And then the foul on the offensive rebound happened. So we have some audio here from Dan Hurley that we're going to play in just a second, but this is basically what happened. Alex Caravan missed a three. Liam McNeely out-efforted a Memphis player for an offensive rebound. He was called for a foul on the offensive rebound. It wasn't technically an over-the-back foul because the over-the-back rule doesn't actually exist in the basketball rule book. But he went up and he grabbed the rebound. I don't think it was a foul. Most of the people that I've spoken to don't think it was a foul. Very clearly, Dan Hurley didn't think it was a foul. And his reaction was to fall on the floor. He got teed up for it. And it resulted in Memphis getting 4 free throws with 40 seconds left on the clock to take a 96-92 lead. And they would eventually hold on to win 99-97 after a 3-point heave from Hassan Diarra missed as the buzzer expired. Incredible comeback. Disappointing way to finish that game, and there's so much more to get into before this. But before we do, let's just hear what Dan Hurley thought about that foul at the end of overtime.
But I had a lot of issues with what went on out there in the game. That over the back call at that point of the game, there was no attempt to block out. There was a player on Memphis that made a half-ass effort to rebound that basketball, and Liam McNeely high-pointed that rebound. For that call to be made at that point of the game was a complete joke, all right? And then for me, I don't know what happened. I might have lost my balance by the absurdity of the call, or maybe I tripped. But if I made that call at that point, I would have ignored the fact that I was on my back. If I made that call, I would have ignored that. That was a major, obviously a major. How you could call that while that game was going on, the way that game was going on, is just beyond me. But I know, I've never seen the one ref before. I didn't even know he was a college ref. And then, I'm familiar with the other two, so I'm not surprised.
I guess we probably need to spend the most time on this technical and kind of what happened there. At this point, everybody knows who Dan Hurley is, right? He is passionate, if you're going to say it kindly. He is insane if you are a rival fan that is trying to describe who he is as a coach and the way that he coaches. But this is the way that he coaches. This is the way that he wants his team to play. It's the mental attitude that he wants his team to have as you go into the games. This is the kind of bravado and the personality he wants his teams to embody. That's just what UConn basketball is and what a Dan Hurley basketball team is going to look like. And you're not going to change that no matter how much people make fun of it or how many jokes people make at his expense. And I don't really have too much issue with it for the most part. I actually kind of celebrate it, right? You lean into this idea that we're going to be the bad guys. We're the biggest bullies on the block. This is who we are. You carry yourself with that ego. It takes it over onto the court. And then all of a sudden, you go on a stretch where you win 37-38 non-conference games by double digits, where you go 2 full NCAA tournaments without having someone stay within single digits of you and win back-to-back national championships. But I think the other side of this is that when when you go after the refs the way that he does, at some point there is a compounding factor there that is going to make it difficult for them to kind of see past some of the things that you do, right? And I do think it's fair to say that if you go back to back, you earn yourself a little leeway with officials, right? You win a championship, you earn yourself some leeway. You do this for long enough, you earn yourself some leeway. I think that you go and you see how some other coaches have behaved on the sidelines. They're not quite the same level as him, but like if you are more respected and been in this game long enough, you have a little bit more leeway with the officials on the sideline. And I also think that refs, when they draw a UConn game, you know what you're walking into, right? You know what you're prepared to be yelled at for 40 minutes. You know what it's going to be. They probably don't like him. He probably doesn't give a shit. Like that's where we are right now with Dan Hurley and the officials in UConn. It is what it is. I still don't think you can get a technical in the spot he got one tonight. Tie game, 40 seconds left. Liam McNeely gets called for the foul on the offensive rebound. I I don't think it was a foul. I feel very comfortable saying that it was not a foul. Uh, and I see, I think I kind of understand why the refs called it. Like it's a tough angle to see if you're looking at it from a certain way, but it wasn't a good call. I still, you just cannot get that technical foul there, right? Without the tech on the final possession, you're down one instead of down three, right? Without the tech, you're coming back down with 40 seconds left and you're down two when Hassan Diarra gets fouled and goes to the free throw line and makes two. So you get, so instead of having to foul to try to extend the game with 24 seconds left, you're defending for a chance to either force a steal and get a layup at the other end in a tie game, or you're defending to send the game into another overtime period, right? So that call mattered. Those two free throws mattered. Those 2 points mattered that late in a basketball game. And I just don't think that you can allow yourself to get that technical foul there. And look, that fire, that passion, that intensity is why UConn is where they are as a program right now. But in this moment, it's probably one of the reasons why UConn lost this game. I also don't think this was like, I understand why he was as mad as he was, right? Like the call against Liam was a bad one. The call in the corner with 7 seconds left was a bad one. There were a couple calls in the first half that I didn't think this was a well officiated game by any stretch. But it was also the third technical foul that UConn had in that game. There was one called on the trainer earlier on. I'm not really sure what happened there. I don't want to go too critical on it, but if you are a ref and you're dealing with Hurley and UConn, you probably kind of know and have, like, you're going to have your senses kind of heightened and your senses more alert to what's happening on that sideline, and you might be more reactive to maybe something that was kind of said offhand and wasn't meant the way that it was meant, right? The other one came against Samson Johnson, and this one was really bad too. And UConn was lucky that it didn't turn into something worse and have this be what cost them the game. The score was 87-86. There was like 2:40 left on the clock. And after a Memphis basket, as he was running back down court, Samson was being held by Musa Cisse, and he just kind of two-hand shoved him right in the chest, sent him flying right in front of the official. Calls a foul. Call. So not only did he commit the foul, but he did it when he had 4 fouls in overtime of a game UConn was winning when Terrace Reed had already fouled out right in front of an official. And the only reason why it didn't cost UConn was because Dane Danger came in and lost his composure and was overly emotional as well. I mean, what are you thinking right there if you are Samson Johnson? There is a line between intensity and hot-headedness. There's a difference between being passionate and being frenzied. And I think that it's a tough line to straddle and it's a thin line to walk. And for the most part, I think that UConn does a really, really good job of navigating that balance. I don't think they would have won back-to-back national championships if they hadn't. I think once you get past January 2023, it really has been a non-issue for them. And a lot of that is because UConn's been rolling over people. They have not had these kind of physical, intense, emotional, draining battles. And that's the most important part to me, right? I said it in the last episode. I don't think that there's a chance that UConn could end up being as good as these last two UConn teams were by the time we get to February or March. But there's going to be quite a few growing pains, and we'll get into those in a second. I think UConn's going to be in a lot more dogfights this year than they have been in the past two seasons. They're not going to be steamrolling teams like they have in the last 20 months. They're not ready for that yet. Close games are won on fine margins. And it turns out getting two technical fouls and giving up 4 extra points in a 2-point overtime loss were pretty costly points and pretty costly technicals to give up. And a tough loss in an insane game in Maui to a team that I kind of think is like a top 20, top 15 kind of a team. That's not a death knell on UConn season. If anything, I think that I was more impressed seeing them bounce back from the slow start, make that comeback and play well enough to win that game in overtime, right? Like I come away from that game thinking, yeah, okay, UConn is probably closer to being top 5 than into the top 5, top 10 range than I thought they were coming into this event, right? Like I think that there's a lot of positives that you can take from that performance. There's also a lot of things that you can learn. And that fine line between being emotional and intense and losing your composure is something that I think UConn's going to have to find a way to try to channel. So, there's a lot of things that we can kind of get to with this, but I will just say, I think that does start with the head of the snake. And it's far from me to tell Dan Hurley how to do his job. He's won back-to-back national championships, but I do think that you're going to have to find a way to navigate that for the rest of the season, because I don't think that it's going to be as smooth sailing as it's been late in games the last 2 years. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM Sportsbook. We're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 throughout the year. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use bonus code FIELD, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. The best part, all you need to do is deposit and bet $10 of your own hard-earned money to be eligible. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using that bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. BetMGM is going to have some fun offers available throughout the NBA playoffs. Bet insurance tokens, odds boost, and what I love, a nice parlay boost or two from time to time, as well as a ridiculous array of player prop bets for any sport that you could possibly imagine betting on. BetMGM is and always will be the king of the prop bet. So go download the BetMGM app, use the bonus code FIELD, and sign up today. And while I've got you, a quick request. The best way to support the Field of 68 content that you get for free is to engage with us. Rate and review the podcast. Like and share the YouTube videos. Tell your friends about us. It all helps in a world where the algorithm is king. And now, back to the show. Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description. Now that college basketball season is back in full swing, I need to remind you guys about our partners over at Autograph, where the real college hoops fans reside. The Autograph app curates all of the best content for every sports fan and every sports fan's favorite team. Podcasts, blogs, analysis. It's all there without the nonsense from the talking heads that don't actually watch the games. And there's a bonus. Consuming content on the Autograph app earns you coins that can be redeemed for rewards for things like no-fee tickets or signed jerseys from your favorite players. There are a couple new features in the app that I need to let you guys know about as well. Autograph Replay gives you a quick hitting summary of the previous day's news so you can keep track of all the important things going on with your favorite teams. And Autograph Rooms allows you to chat in real time with the true voices of fandom within your team's community. So go to the link in the description or scan that QR code on your screen and download the Autograph app. Let's talk about what actually happened in the game itself beyond just the officiating, because the officiating stuff is just, it is so not interesting to me. As far as the actual game is concerned, there's quite a bit to discuss. For me, it solidified it. Terrace Reed's got to be starting. He had 22 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 assists, 10 for 13 from the floor. He was completely unguardable for Memphis for a while. Like Sampson, I love Sampson. He's the change of pace guy. It's self-explanatory to me at this point. And if you can't see it after that game, then I don't know. I don't think we're watching the same game. I would say that I think UConn needs more from solo ball from Liam McNeely, from Jaden Ross. They had a combined 16 tonight, but 11 of those 16 points came during the comeback from just Liam and Solo during the comeback that they had in the last 3 minutes. I thought Ross was good defensively. He basically provided nothing on the offensive end of the floor. I think he only took 2 shots. Jalen Stewart was incredible in the first half. He had 16 points. 14 came in the first half when UConn badly needed them. He kept them in the game. His career high coming in was 11. You're not going to get that every game from him. If that was what UConn expected to get from him every game, he would be ahead of those other 3 in the rotation. He is not. If he continues to provide performances like that, he will move in front of them in the rotation. It's that simple. But he was immense today. I thought his first half was incredible. And if he doesn't show up like that, then this game ends up being a 25-point rout, and we're not even having this conversation at this point. I think all of that stuff levels out in the long run, though. I'm not worried about any of those 3 individually. I'm not worried about the 2 through 4 spots really at all. I think Alex Karaban kind of is who he is at this point. 19 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, switchable defense. Like, he is the quintessential role guy. He is an all-American role guy. He is a great piece, and he's going to be a great piece at the NBA level. He's just a great player. And he was that again tonight. I'm not worried about 2 through 4. I'm not worried about the wings. I'm not worried about the off-guard spot. I think all of that stuff levels out. To me, the single biggest concern with this team is the point guard spot. And I think what we saw today, what we talked about last week, was the issues on the offensive end for UConn. I think what we saw today was the problems they're going to have on the defensive end of the floor, and where that kind of balance lies, right? Every single time Memphis could, they put Aiden Mahaney in an isolation, in a ball screen, in the post. Like, they went at him on every possession that they could, and they were hunting him, and it worked. Tyrese Hunter got going, then PJ Haggerty got going, and it was probably not a fun thing for Aiden Mahaney to deal with. I can't imagine what it was like for his parents to watch that and his family to kind of watch it. Like, it was very clear that they identified Aiden Mahaney is the guy that we could pick on defensively, and we're going to pick on him every single chance that we get. That is going to continue. That is not going to stop. Once a team kind of finds a little bit of success against someone playing one way, then it's going to get replicated. It's going to get copied. He's going to be targeted over and over the season. He has got to find a way to be better defensively. I think that'll get there. I think he'll probably put on some more weight and be more effective on that end, but he has to get better on that end of the floor because he's going to get picked on. And if he's not, I'm kind of buying into this idea a little bit more of playing Hassan at the point guard spot, especially when you have Karaban and Liam McNeely on the floor together. Karaban and McNeely combined for 10 assists today. Both of those guys can really pass the ball. And I think you get enough offensive creativity with those two running off of screens, running off of pin downs, allowing them to kind of be creators within offensive sets and allow Haas to be the guy that sets the table and um, and is the point of attack defensively. And I think if you do that, you have a real chance to be able to be really good. Um, and then that will take some of the pressure off of Aiden. It will allow him to kind of maybe be a backup guy for a little bit, be instant offense off the bench a little bit, not have to worry about the stress of it. And as the defense comes, he could play more minutes. He could be the guy that comes in and closes. I think I I think that would probably behoove him long term as the UConn point guard, and I don't know if that's going to be what ends up happening, but I'll be curious to see what kind of changes get made as a result of the way that this game started. The biggest thing is like it's been slow starts all 5 games, all of them, and at some point, I think you need to figure out, okay, why do we get going? Why are we playing a little bit better when Terrace Reed is on the floor? Why are we playing a little bit better um, when guys like Asandia are on the floor? Like, why does that happen? And I think we know why at this point. But I'll also say this. I've been saying since October that this year was going to be something of a work in progress for this UConn team, right? I mean, you can see that the talent is there. You can see the ability that some of these guys have, and you can see what their potential is. They're not at their ceiling yet. They have plenty of room to grow, but they still have room to grow to get where they need to be. And Memphis is a top 15 team in America. That probably is the worst stylistic matchup that you can get for UConn right now. Um, they have 2 guards that are big and tough and physical and can kind of get wherever they want to go on the offensive end of the floor. And UConn doesn't really have a way to stop that. They don't really have a guy that can be a shutdown defender at the point of attack. And they don't have the Great Wall of Bristol at the front of the rim, erasing everything within 8 feet of the bucket. It's just a different team defensively this year. I think on the defensive end, they had the kind of length and athleticism that could switch everything and completely blow up all of the stuff that UConn wants to run in the half court. How many times did we see some of those free-flowing offensive sets that we saw over and over and over and over and over again the last 2 years? Not a lot, because UConn didn't have the point guard to be able to get the ball into that offense. They were running offense from half court. You can't do what they want to do running offense from half court. So I think that there's questions that we're going to have about UConn. The single biggest talking point that we're going to have about UConn is Dan Hurley and the technical fouls. But to me, the biggest takeaway that I had is that like Memphis is for real, man. Like that's a team. That's a second weekend team. That's a team with Final Four, the ceiling of a Final Four. That's a team that should smoke everybody in the American. That's a team where if they can get past, it looks like it's going to be Michigan State to get to the finals of the Maui Invitational, whether they play Auburn, Iowa State, or North Carolina. That's going to be a tough matchup for whoever ends up getting them. This Memphis team, I think, is going to be really good and really fun to track through the entire season. So that's where I'm at with it. We got another game to come up tomorrow to be able to see if UConn can get a 2-1 record out of this trip out to the Maui Invitational. They need it. The Big East needs it. And I'll tell you this, I do think that that it would behoove this team to get back onto the floor as quickly as possible and not stew on this loss. So with that, I'm going to sign off here, and I'll be checking back in with you guys again tomorrow night after UConn plays. It looks like it'll probably end up being Colorado in the losers bracket of the Maui Invitational. We thought we'd be saying that.